Hey everyone, so I just saw the Blair Witch 2016's soft reboot of the 1999 original film, and no, we're gonna not even think about this one, but I'm not even gonna say its name. Alright, yeah, that's how I feel about it. So like I said, I just saw the new Blair Witch movie, and I came out of it pretty frustrated, and I'll get into why specifically in a minute, but I want to say first, before I start comparing it to the original, which everyone will do, and I will do, because it's impossible not to do with a sequel like this. So, before we get into the comparisons, let's talk about why this is objectively a poorly made found footage movie. But for starters, I'll talk about what I liked about this movie. Now, one, the camera angles. Compared to the first one where they only had two cameras the entire movie, we have a drone, earpiece point of view shots, we have handheld cameras, so there's a lot more variety in the angles in the movie. There's a lot more variety in what you can see and what you are allowed to see. The angles in this really did help sell that we are moving into a modern age a bit more. Another thing that I enjoyed was certain aspects of the movie. There's a few parts of the movie that I really enjoyed and that were actually very tense. And that's because this movie really tries to get a whole bunch of different scares in there. In the last 30 minutes, there's like a lady climbing a tree, so there's fear of heights, there's a haunted house, there's body horror. Almost everything is in there. Claustrophobia even, crawling through this tunnel. So there's almost any kind of scare you can think of in this movie. So it will appeal to a much wider audience in that sense. There isn't just one thing, like a paranormal type scare or a found footage gimmick. There isn't just one thing that this movie does. There's many other different little horror aspects that it tries to do, and I feel like that was a good idea, a good try. But the problem is that this first three-fourths of the movie is really, really boring and bland. But it wasn't boring in the sense that I was like drooling, almost asleep boring. It was boring because the story wasn't that interesting. It was actually very well paced. I was never actually falling asleep in the movie. It was straight through, pretty good straight through. No breaks. There's no scenes that I felt like needed to be cut out. But the problem is that it takes about 30 minutes to get started, and then once it finally gets through that 30 minutes, it just doesn't stop. So you're sitting there waiting for stuff to happen, and then it just is like, all right, now you're waiting for something to stop happening so you can catch your breath. And that structure is much more modern, and I'll probably say that a lot in this review, is that this movie really modernizes Blair Witch, and for some that's a good thing. For me, it's not, because found footage modern movies are really hard for me to sit through. Very, very hard for me to sit through. With this movie, the structure is something that was very frustrating. Again, that first 30 minutes, I was like, okay, this is a lot like the original, in that the first 30 minutes is like, all right, slow burn, we'll get a nice little character moments, the psychological drama will start to unfold, and then the witch will slowly start to get them. And that doesn't happen. What happens is it's very slow, you don't get any character, and then it just crap hits the fan, and then the movie ends. There's nothing interesting there. There's nothing interesting about that for me. The characters were not interesting at all. I don't remember a single one of their names, and I saw the movie last night. So that's not a good thing. I don't remember specifics about them. I don't remember why most of them were there. It's just the characters were probably the worst part of this film, and the actors playing the characters were equally bad. In a found footage movie like this, it's okay to get unknown actors. It's actually better to get unknown actors because that makes you feel like the film is more real. But for this movie, the found footage gimmick is so poorly handled that these bad actors just look like bad actors that are desperately trying to be good actors. And it really is cringy at times. It's very laugh out loud at a couple other times. because they just aren't good. They are not good actors at all. And it's hard to watch because it's hard to watch because you know why they did it. You know that they got these actors because they wanted to make it more real, but that aspect fails because the found footage gimmick also fails. There's a lot more camera angles, like I said, but that actually takes away from the personality of the film. When you get that many angles, it's kind of neat to see for about the first 20-30 minutes, and then after that, it feels more Hollywood. It starts to feel very Hollywoodized, and there's no personality in that. There's no personality in feeling like there's a cameraman. There's no personality in feeling like there was sound effects dubbed in. And there's no personality in feeling like each and every actor has a lav mic. It just feels Hollywood, and that's the biggest issue with this found footage in this movie, is that it doesn't feel real. There's sound effects that are clearly put into the movie in post-production, specifically when wood is brought into the picture for some reason. There's a bunch of voodoo dolls that appear at one point, and each and every one seems like they have their own like ee creaking noise, and it just becomes so loud and obnoxious that it didn't feel like it was in the universe. Or when the lady's climbing the tree, and each and every branch she steps on is like, it's really annoying when that happens. It's really annoying when you get this kind of audio that clearly wouldn't be in the movie unless it was added in post-production. And each and every actor is mic'd, for sure. Their audio sounds crisp and clean throughout the whole movie, each and every actor, no matter where the camera is, no matter where anything is, it's just crisp, clean audio. And a lot of people can say, hey, you know, their earpieces probably had mics, but the earpieces were like this big, and they had a camera on the front and a little GPS on it. I can't imagine that mic having this good of audio, really. This mic right here is almost a $100 mic, and it doesn't have the quality of audio that the movie had. So that argument kind of is off the table for me. So when you put all this together, when you add the sound effects, when you add the trees crashing that are extremely loud, when you add the actors that are mic'd, all of this put together doesn't feel like a found footage movie. It feels like a horror movie where the actors were running around with cameras for some reason. And that is really why this movie fails for me. But that being said, there's one more thing that was very, very frustrating, and that was the jump scares. The jump scares in this were so frustrating, and it's because almost all of them are false scares. Almost every single one is an actor just walking on screen and a big loud effect comes in, and it's like, oh, it scared me, oh, dang. It happens, I think it happens 3 times in one scene, where this lady's like looking at this webcam and she's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then a lady sneaks up behind her and it's like, hey, and she's like, duh, and she's like, oh, where's the others? And she turns around, there's another one, and she's like, oh, don't do that. And she turns around, oh, there's another one. And it was so frustrating to watch. It was so frustrating to see these jump scares, these false scares in a Blair Witch movie. So in the end, this movie objectively fails for me, even when it's not being compared to the original, which I will do in a minute. It just doesn't work. It is poorly handled, it's poorly executed. No characters are interesting, no characters are likable or unlikable, so they're just forgettable altogether. The whole gimmick, found footage aspect is very Hollywoodized. It doesn't feel like it has any charm or personality. It just feels like a couple of professionals that went out in the woods, got nice crisp audio, got nice sound effects, and got nice sets to build. And it doesn't feel like anything more than that. And so when the scares start to come near the end, they fall flat for me. They aren't really that scary because the first 3/4 of the movie is nothing but false scares and nothing but false climaxes and false everything. Everything is false about the first 3/4 of this movie. Nothing feels genuine. So when things start to really hit the fan, like legitimately, it doesn't work. It just feels clunky, especially when it actually shows you the villain. And this is about when I'm going to start going into comparisons to the original, because the original never shows you the witch. And I saw this with a bunch of friends, and a couple of them said that they liked this one better. And one of the reasons they said that they liked it better than the original is because they saw The Witch. To which I said, but that's the best part of the original. The best part of the original is the fear of the unknown, is the fear that whatever is out there is doing whatever it wants to them. So in this new movie, when the witch is seen, I really got aggravated with this movie. At first, I was just upset mildly because it isn't a very good found footage movie, but then once you see the witch, that's when I really started to get annoyed at this movie, because it takes everything that the first movie did and puts it in the backseat to its own scares. The first movie stands for less is more, and tension and atmosphere is better than being in your face. Characters are better than scares, and that the fear of the unknown is much more impactful than something that you can clearly see. And this new movie takes all of that and throws it away. There's no good characters. All of them are completely bland. The fear of the unknown is completely gone, especially when you see the witch at the end. And the size of the cast in this new one is double what the old one was. There's 6 of them in this one, and there was only 3 in the other one, which means, A, they're going to have a lot harder time giving characters development, which they do. They never give any characters development. They had a very hard time with that. And B, it's not going to feel as claustrophobic. It's not going to feel as contained as the original one. It feels a lot more broad, and that also has something to do with the amount of cameras that they brought with them. It feels way too broad. It feels way too wide in scope to be frightening. In this claustrophobic area, you need that sense of containment. You need that sense of trapped in the film. And that's what the first one does so well, is that there's only 3 characters, there's only 2 cameras, so you feel trapped with them. There's only one mic that they have between all of them, and only one camera can film audio. So the audio is sometimes feels distant, it sometimes is kind of weird to hear because only one camera can shoot audio. So when you're shooting, when you see another camera shooting, the audio is still recording from the other camera, so if it sounds far off. So it gives it that, it gives it that charm. And this movie just didn't have that. And it's because of this cast. It's because of the wide array of cameras. You just don't get the feeling that you're trapped. The first one never extends outside your realm of reality. Whenever supernatural things start happening, it always feels like it could possibly be happening because, it's a witch and she starts doing some spooky shiz and you're like, okay, she could probably do that. But in this one, it takes it so over the top that it doesn't feel real. She doesn't feel real. The gimmick doesn't feel real. And therefore, the scares don't work. And that's why the ending completely fails, is because it throws everything the first one did out the window. And they stand in the corner and she kills them. But the whole point of the original was that the witch is camera shy. She doesn't want to be seen. So she puts the one in the corner and kills the other one and then kills that one so she isn't seen. Nobody's really seen her. And that's the point. But in this one, you see her so much. And she has different rules now. So it's completely different than the original. And the original is the one that really paved the way for this genre. And now this one, I really hope doesn't pave the way for new found footage movies, because we started getting movies that didn't have false scares, that are actually had tension and maybe 1 or 2 false scares, mostly just real jump scares that jump scared you with the villain. And this one has so many false scares that it's frustrating. That's the whole thing. That's my whole review of this movie, is that it's frustrating. I really don't think I can recommend this movie. I really enjoy the first one, and I would definitely say go see that. I've already reviewed it, so you can watch that video. It's not a great video, but go watch the video. It's my review of the first one, and I really like the first one. But I can't recommend this one. I can't recommend it because the characters are flat. The actors are really terrible. The main story is poorly executed. It's a neat idea, and there's a lot of cool things that happen, like the amount of different scares that it tries to put in and the amount of different angles of the cameras that are kind of neat to see, the drone shots and all that. But that also detracts from the film as a whole. It doesn't feel like a found footage movie. It feels like a Hollywood made a found footage movie. And that's why it just fails. It's not scary. There's a lot of false scares. It's just poorly done. It's a poorly done movie that bends the rules that the original set up, that throws everything that the original stood for out the window. And objectively, even not comparing it to the original, it doesn't work. It just is a poorly made movie, poorly made found footage movie that I just can't recommend. And in the end, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is my Blair Witch review. If you haven't seen it, you don't need to. But if you have, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you agreed or disagreed with me, and we could probably get a conversation going. So anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe, like, do all that, whatever you want, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.